your host, Joey Shekonujimbo. And of course, I have my co-host with me, the amazing Christy.
Hello, Joey. Good
Hi.
morning. Nice to be with you again.
Yes. So far, we've been having conversations around climate change, climate action, what you need to do as a citizen of Nigeria and, of course, Plateau State. And it's amazing to see how some of this programming is yielding profits and seeing results, because last weekend we saw that some certain people were arrested for flouting the rules of staying home to just keep your environment clean. But today we are going to be having an amazing conversation on the impact of waste in our communities. But before I just go straight ahead, today is World Waste Pickers Day. I know you may be wondering what that is. Today is World Babambola Day.
Yeah, because I had no idea such a thing existed until a few hours ago. So what happened is actually very sad.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Colombia in 1992,
yes.
Actually, 11 waste pickers were lured into a university by the security guards there, and they killed them. They were killing them. Asked me what they wanted to do with the bodies.
Just to take them to the
they wanted
lab.
They wanted to sell them to the university that they worked for.
Yes.
So they could use them in their morgues. Exactly.
Why are you pointing at dog?
No, I'm saying because we have a doctor in the building and he will understand.
She's pointing at him.
He will understand is what I mean. So yes. So the first day of the first World Waste Pickers Day was commemorated in 2008.
Yes.
And today they're hoping to have their first elections so that they can have a formal international body, which is great. I mean, that the event that happened in 1992 really did a lot to shape the lives of waste pickers in Colombia. So we're riding on that. And
to add to that, I love what Lagos State is doing.
Lagos
State is doing something amazing.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, where are we on the plateau? I know we have a representative that would possibly talk to us about maybe some policies that could help people in this part of this region. But I forgot to mention something that is very important. This program is brought to you by Tier Fund and in collaboration with other partners like Renew Our World and the rest. Our guy is not here, so
when Oga comes, he will explain to you. But meanwhile, we've been talking as if we're alone in the studio. We have ghosts in the studio with us. We do not. We have Mr. Femi Kinri, who is the CEO of Spotlex World Environmental Solution. You're most welcome. He's of course our Oga of Waste Management, and we'll hear that very soon. But we also have a representative from the medical field. We have Dr. Ferdinand Ogbaji, who is the Senior Registrar, Department of Community Medicine at JUTH. You're very welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much
on the show. This is Renew Our World, your climate-friendly, environmental-friendly
radio show.
And the time is 11:28, just about 11:29 a.m. We have in the studio with us, of course, Mr. Femi Kinri and Dr. Ferdinand Ogbaji, who will probably like to respond to some of the comments from our interviews.
Yeah, it's quite interesting hearing from the streets, and
they were very specific.
They were very specific, and their voices were unified.
And name calling of some certain locations.
Because the interesting thing is the same places got mentioned even though I spoke to different people at different locations.
Yeah. One of the things you ask yourself is why these places?
Yeah.
And that is what we really know ahead. There is a particular demographic around those kind of places. And one of the very important things, town planning, population density. Those things are very, very key. And if you look at those places they've mentioned, beside the fact that Jos North is the capital of Plateau State, and then you expect most of the population will be there. And then some of the particular areas they mentioned, you know that the population density is high in those places. So when you have those kind of factors, it's really difficult to manage waste. And several other things go along with that kind of population density. So I'm really not surprised.
So in a contrary opinion, what do you think about the topography of the place? Because if you look at it, we have a lot of rocks around that area. So don't you think this can be a contributory factor to why that place is being polluted?
It's really multifactorial, and that's an important factor, like you rightly identified. That topography makes it difficult for you to manage with. Just like in some other parts of even the capital, where it's easier to identify a particular place, that area, maybe dig and bury and burn, that area is difficult to manage such ways. But really, that's not an excuse.
Mr. Kinri, I'm sure you have your thoughts.
As true as the the assertions are and their points are, but then you must also look at the level of exposure and the educational background of that particular demography. And you will see that the good number of people in those areas are not quite educated. But then what do you say of an area that we call the elitist
areas,
environment, even like Rayfield, and you begin to see quite a number of houses that have been described with the kind of waste dump around them. So if I were to judge, I would rather say that Rayfield is rather dirtier than those areas when you look at the caliber of people who live there. I've had a reason to challenge someone who was actually, throwing, an elite, educated person, throwing waste, in the canal. And I actually accosted him. They actually even spilled some on the road. And I accosted them and they said, but some people actually paid to clear this. And I asked, are you paid to make it dirty? Now, so what is the essence of your education? If when those who are not educated are actually cleaning it, and you who are educated are making it dirty.
The problem.
So if like I would usually say that if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the pollution. So it's more appalling that those who are educated actually make the environment dirty.
There's almost no difference.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Because we were asking, because the question was what parts of the state are poorest at managing their waste. We're also asking how does it affect people. I like that one of the interviewees said scavengers, mentioned specifically scavengers, waste pickers, because you're the one in direct contact with the waste. How do we treat them? What kind of, with this thing in Colombia that we just mentioned, they said, look, they just treated us like we were disposable. Like they're nobody, they're not important. People who care about waste or who bother with waste are clearly at a certain level in society and treated a certain way that these guys don't if this guy is dead tomorrow, who's going to look for him?
There's even been an issue of stigmatization. Even in Lagos, I did my research and I realized that even the waste pickers have been stigmatized. Same thing to you that is even listening to us. I know when you see this Bababola come into your environment, you'll be like, oh wow, so I hope they will not pick anything that is valuable to
no
me.
Trust in the first
place. But if you
place.
look at it, talking about the solutions, because you did make mention of the solutions, what do you think we should start looking out for? Is it that we need to work on our messaging, we need to work on advocacy, on TV, radio? Should we also equip our families and even households to recycle? Because you're into waste management, for instance. So you tell us, what do you think should be the solution?
Okay, when the purpose of the thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. When we don't actually see the way we manage our waste as a problem, then it becomes difficult for us to actually sell the solution. So it might be necessary that we actually talk about the problem. Let's do the problem definition first, then we begin to talk about the solution. That's actually what I feel. For instance, we've talked about the stigmatization of stigmatization of the waste pickers. Like some who call them scavengers, but I call them waste miners.
Wow.
Now, because
that's a touche way now of calling them.
It's not just touche. Money is involved.
Did you get?
Mining is not for fun.
Remember our first episode?
Money is involved.
So I rather call them waste miners because they are very critical players in the environmental sector. They are part of the value chain. We cannot just do away with. And I tell you that there's a whole lot of resources. Like I've said, that it is those who do not know that call it trash. I see cash when you are seeing trash. I see resource when you are seeing refuse. I am seeing a treasure when you are seeing trash as it were. So we actually see it differently. And so when we are talking about these waste miners, they are the one that is actually salvaging our environment. You see, you agree with me that just like there is a finding that said there are more plastics in the ocean than the number of fishes in the ocean. That's right. And now these people are mining a whole lot of plastic these days. So you see the way you see plastics on the road, anyhow, even flooding waterways, it's not the way it used to be. I know this whole thing started with people actually picking the scrap metals, but now Even papers, you see
Plastic.
them picking it, plastics,
Cartons.
they are picking it,
Metal.
cartons, they are picking it. And then when we don't try to formalize them and integrate them into the sector and make them look more relevant, then they will actually feel really bad. And the reality is that some of these guys are much richer than some
Okay,
directors.
so it's 11:36
in the ministries.
It's 11:36, so we have to let the listener call in. They
yes.
might have something to say to us.
Yeah.
090-55666699 or 081-2187-7777. Joey, help me out by talking too fast.
081-2187-7777. That's the number to call, or you can call 090-55666699. The phone lines are open. We have a first caller.
Hello? 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 Okay, if you can hear me, please call us
right
back. I don't know, Doctor, you might have a thing or two to say about health. You know, you were
Yes.
talking about, is this something that these places or these environments that we've called out, is it something they can help? But then there's also the issue of what are the effects?
Yeah.
You know, we were getting into that. For you as a medical personnel, you come across sick people every day. What things should we be afraid of? What situations should we be afraid of when it comes to our health and the way we've managed waste so far?
Yeah. So I'm a public health physician, and one of the things we focus on, indeed, the major thing we focus on is prevention and how you can even prevent some of these things from happening because of the aftermath, the health effects that you're expecting at the end. Really, waste itself leads to several health events affecting essentially all systems of the body. If you look at the major diseases that are plaguing us in this kind of environment, low-income countries, you see that they are preventable and they are linked to the environment. In fact, about 25% of diseases are linked to the environment and they are preventable just by some of this sanitation. For example, you look at something like malaria, which plagues us, is related to waste management. When you have an environment that is not sanitized, you're not managing your waste properly, you can have mosquitoes breathe there. Things like rodents, we're having epidemics of viral Lassa fever, very directly related to waste management, and that is something that has cost us as a people, even as a nation, in our health system, several amounts of money. So in all systems, essentially, the time will really fail us to talk about them. You look at waste has been associated with reduced weight, low birth weight for children, has been associated with mental health conditions. You may just be surprised that a child who is performing poorly in school may have been related to poor air quality, the air that he was.
Oh, you just mentioned air, and I'm thinking about places like Port Harcourt.
Oh boy!
You know, I think because the waste also depends on the environment.
Yes.
So we don't have refineries around here, whatever. We don't have the activity that will create that kind of way. But for a long time, I don't know if it's better now, but there was a soot problem in Port Harcourt.
Yes.
So
I don't know about better, but there are probably other things that are making the headlines.
Yeah.
Compared to that,
but we
that's
have
why
tin
we're not
mining
seeing
and the
them,
other dangers that can come out of that. So
And
I think
that is becoming an epidemic for us here. Tin mining here, that is, and there are several things: the environmental degradation that can cause, the pollution that can cause, the illnesses that can cause. It's just
the
really
poisoning
massive.
you can even get
Terribly.
So we'd like to hear from Mr. Femi as regarding how waste contributes to climate change, because I know that you are into the waste business. But then before we go, we'd like you to just call us. But if you're not calling, of course, we actually went out to get some certain opinion. The number to call is 090-55-666699 or 081-2187-7777. That's the number to call us.
Okay, before our Vox Pop, I was going to ask Mr. Kirin. People always say, oh, climate change. Oh, how does what's it concern my dustbin concern climate change? You know, that's the first thing somebody's asking. We all know the weather is different.
I mean,
everybody is
recently, even in Jos, the heat wave is even affecting us even more.
If we were feeling it like this, I don't know how they are doing in other parts of the country. But the average person, really, if we're being honest, will say to you, okay, but we're talking climate change, we're talking my Ebola, I'm not understanding.
And we have a health expert here talking to us about the dangers of all of these actions.
The air pollution.
Okay, let me just put it in a way I expect. I think every lay person will be able to understand. Now, we are in this room now. It is covered. If some of the activities we actually get involved in begin to make the ceiling of this place porous. I mean, perforating the ceiling, perforating the zinc, and all of the covering, and more or less turning the covering to a net.
Yes.
Now, you understand that the ray that is coming directly from the sun will begin to heat up this place.
Yes.
So whether you are putting on an air condition or not, you realize that the outlets and the escape route of the air coming from the air conditioner is actually escaping so fast, and of course a whole lot of heat is actually coming directly to this place. So that's one of the best way I usually explain the issue of climate change, that now we have done a whole lot of havoc by our anthropogenic activities, by what man
Uncle,
do.
three-lettered words, please.
Okay.
Man's activity. At least I did science.
So by man's activities, for instance, you want to set fire, and you use plastic, and putting this plastic in fire, and this plastic generates some kind of chemicals that at the end of the day will go up and begin to weaken the ozone layer. That is, let me call it the ceiling.
The protection
between the earth and the sun. So it weakens it, it makes it eventually become porous. And so the ray of light that is coming directly from the sun is hitting us much more harder, and creating a whole lot of heat coming also from the underground because of the evaporation that is also taking place. So at the end of the day, the whole place become hotter than it is expected to be. So I think that's just
we're seeing some African countries as well, even at the moment, crying about things like droughts. Because if it gets hotter and everything is evaporating, it's going to get drier. We're losing water bodies. The
methane gas that is actually emitting, the carbon monoxide that is coming out from the exhaust of the vehicles. So the emission that is coming out from the industry. So all of these things actually affect
and that the Ebola that you're burning every other day,
of course.
Because we have to get rid of the waste somehow. I was talking to the new DG of the environmental side, PEPSA, and I said that. I said, look, you say we should be clean and we should put our stuff together, we should get it together. If you don't give us an official place where it's properly managed, we'll try to manage it the best we can, which is put it together when it's dry season, you burn, which is what you're complaining about as well.
Now let's frankly talk about the issue of the government having to give you a place to put your waste. And I would say that anywhere in the world today, there is nowhere that waste is being effectively managed when it is operated as a social service. Now, the government can certainly not bear the cost. Now, because the population is on the increase, and of course, there had always been this policy of polluters pay. Now, we call it the polluter pays principle. Now, the government should create the enabling environment for players to be able to come right to your doorstep. Now you realize
public-private partnerships. So work with the public sector, private sector.
So that at the end of the day, we don't actually get all of this waste together in one place. The more the volume of waste we get together in a place, the higher the rate of emission and the higher the rate of pollution. So, but when you have your waste at your doorstep, he has it at his doorstep, I have mine at my doorstep, and someone come to collect it and take it to where it's being processed. You see, because all of this thing we call waste is actually wealth. And we complain, and of course, with this, I can tell you that a whole lot of jobs can be created when we actually manage our waste very well.
I think for some reason we seem to have trouble with the phone lines. Please keep trying, though. The numbers are still open: 090-55-666699 or
081-2187-7777.
Am I wrong, Doctor? Isn't it almost Lassa fever season? I think I read a report somewhere. We have at least one case somewhere.
Yes, we do.
Where?
Unfortunately,
in Plateau State.
There were suspected cases in Plateau State, and then there are some other cases even around the environment. But one of the interesting things for us in Lassa in our environment now is no longer seen like an epidemic, because you essentially report cases of Lassa all year round now. So it's something with us.
Really?
We now call endemic, yes.
So what's the statistics like for Plateau State?
I don't have that figure for you right now.
Does it look like it's getting better, or does it look like it's the same?
It's not getting better. It's not getting better. So what we can say is that there's a particular season of the year where we're getting to now, where the cases and the suspected cases
keep increasing.
Increase. So it's important we link this directly to the environment, so that people know what to do and then how to prevent.
Because you know what kind of environment you would have to have for rats to worry you. They worry you,
of course.
You said something about policies and all of that. I think it is very important that before we even get to certain agendas and all, we as humans and as households get to manage our waste from our households. So in essence, I think there was an episode we talked about waste sorting, where you would have to sort your waste.
Which is a big issue.
When you can recycle, you recycle. Because if we do all of this, I think it's going to help reduce the menace we're seeing today in our society.
Certainly. You see, it's just like talking about Lassa fever. When people call us, now our company is actually into a holistic environmental management services. So when people call us and say, oh, I see maybe reptiles in my house, and we say, no, how much will it cost to fumigate? I said, let us come and inspect first. Because when we actually come to inspect, we will know what is the cause. Now, when you see reptiles, we will tell you that there's every possibility that there are rodents, because reptiles actually run after rodents. Now, and what are the things that will cause the rodents? The things that will cause the rodents, it's more often than not. Because they look for food.
Yes.
So the rodents go for the crumbs. The reptiles go for the rodents. So and all of that. So
everybody will do village meeting in your house.
So where you have reptiles, you most likely have all of these things. They have their head. So I tell people that look, they look for harborage, they look for food, they look for water.
Yeah.
So once they have all of those things, your place is a safe haven for them. So now someone will say, oh yes, I normally see the wall gecko. I said that means there are insects in your house. When you take care of the insect, the wall geckos will certainly go. So now when you look at all of these things, treat it from the root cause. So when we're talking about Lassa fever, keep your environment clean. So every epidemic we talk about, people say, oh, keep your environment clean. And of course, when you have this bola behind your house, you have this bola in front of your house, you have this bola in your house, this place you burn your waste, this place you keep your waste for a very long time, and say, it never full. And a whole lot of stench is being generated, emission is taking place, and all of that. So you certainly have a whole lot of health challenge as a result of that. I think basically there is a need for an attitudinal change. See, a situation whereby somebody feels that, for instance, the rainy season is coming now, and someone will rather feel, oh, let me just wait. Once it's raining, let me use the waterways as conveyor.
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh dear.
Please call us back 090-556-666-99 and 081-2187-7777.
Are you there? Yes, thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Please, can you speak up?
Hear you.
Yes, speak up.
It's like you were still in bed. You were calling us from bed. Please wake up. Sorry, please go on.
So a situation whereby somebody will feel like, oh, let me dump my waste in the drainage so that the waters,
will take it
away. Now, certainly it's taking it somewhere. So, and wherever it gets to any blockage, it builds up. Yeah. And of course, you see this, spilling all over the place. So it's an attitude. And someone feel, oh, well, why should I pay for my waste? The government should do everything. Now, there is nowhere in the world that is actually doing proper waste management that government does. People are responsible for that.
Now, so how do you correct that attitudinal change?
Very well.
Okay, just before you correct, please, let's see. Hello? Hello? Hello?
I think the caller dropped.
I don't know. For some reason, I can't hear them or they can't hear me. Hello? Okay,
the color drop.
it's
So,
gone off.
Let me just chip in a bit
to correct it
for that.
is to talk about it. Now, it's important that media houses like this talk about it, churches talk about it, mosques talk about it, schools talk about
Traditional
it.
rulers.
Now, traditional rulers talk about it. Communities get themselves together to talk about it, and ensuring that nobody does that in this community. I know of a few communities in Jos that will say, "Oh no,
please mention the names.
okay." Now, I remember that in a particular street in Rayfield around Adiko at the time, we said, "No, you cannot drop waste anywhere here."
Yeah.
And they will call, waste collectors to come and speak with them and even negotiate with them,
yes,
so that they could have some kind of, price reduction. But then the reality is this. Now, when there is no law or enforcement backing all of this thing up, somebody just, okay, well, I'm not going to key into it. I have the right to put my waste the way
But
I
that's
want to
another. But
put it.
that's another question. I like the fact that the conversation is going in this direction. How much are people actually willing to pay to have their waste properly managed? That's another very important question. It's one thing to say
very
we're
good.
organized. Another
Now,
thing are people actually willing to
The
pay?
issue is this: people will not really be willing to pay when they feel they have an alternative. Now, and when there is no politic measure put in place for someone who does not do it well. So someone will just say, look, because they thinking of an average person is that, oh, you are managing
easy way
waste.
out.
So it is the money I can afford to waste, I will put on waste management.
Yeah, why pay for the waste to be managed when I can burn it?
So why pay for it?
I think
I have
there's an
matches in my house.
initiative. You talked about trash for cash.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tier Fund can pull this off.
But
In
doctor,
Plateau
what
State.
do you think about this conversation about
I
the
think,
economics of it?
He has, beyond that, he has highlighted very key issues, the behavioral change. And one of the things we must really focus on is where do we begin to instill behavioral change from?
Yeah.
It's from as basic as from the nursery schools.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is where the children begin to develop behaviors that they see throughout life. So we need to introduce environmental clubs, waste clubs, to as low as those children can comprehend.
Yes.
And then they can take it up from there. And then one of the other things is modeling. If a child is in a vehicle and he sees his mom or dad throwing something from the window, he's going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, this comes up all the time.
Yes.
Yes.
So if we don't have people that can model this kind of thing, it would really be a problem. And then you talked about the punitive measures. If there are no deterrents, people will never
whatever they
align.
want.
So
Yes, of course.
this is where the government can really come in. Beyond
Don't worry,
all of
they've
those.
increased the fines.
Yeah,
Very
so
well
we have
said.
to have a system
So if it's that
of
one,
capturing
you don't say that one,
people
they speak
in the
government.
act. We have to
You
have
see,
a system
it's
of
not
capturing
about
people
just-
so that those deterrents can be put in place.
Yeah, but you rather that people not be in that situation in the first place.
Yes.
Now, if the fines are increased, but then the enforcement is not there,
not there.
it's
Yes,
as good
exactly.
as not doing anything.
Yeah.
Now, it will shock you to know that I was in a particular school just a few days ago, and the school said, well, we burn our waste. And I said, but you teach against pollution. So why not just take that out
Small
of your
examples.
curriculum? Now, because if you do not believe in doing it right,
Yes.
why then do you teach
Teach it.
people?
You're telling
there's-
the children do it like this, but they
But
can
you are
see you're
doing-
doing it like that.
So, because for instance, as a pastor, I remember a few days ago, I told the people, I think I was preaching, and I was talking about leading by example. And I said, touch your chin, but I touched my head. And almost more than
They'll touch
90%
their head, that's what they see.
of the population also touched the head.
doing.
I said, see, because that was what you saw me do. So when the schools that teach against pollution also pollute, so
Okay,
the children wouldn't see it
that's
as an
unfortunately
Press for time.
as
Yes.
much as we can take
Yeah.
today. Thank you
Yep.
for staying with us. It's Renew Our World. We've been speaking with Mr. Femi Kinri, who's CEO of Potlex World Environmental Solutions, and we have also Dr. Ferdinand Ogbaji, Senior Registrar, Department of Community Medicine, Youth. Thank you both for your time
Thank you
today.
so
Thank you
much.
so much for a great show.